Alright guys, welcome back for the new year. So we've got a couple of youngsters in, which means we should be okay with our under 20 options. We've got lots of them, should be fine. It might mean a couple of you might sit out a bit more football than you're used to this season, but we'll get to that once we get past the Champions League. And we're in Group D, which is super rare, especially considering that Western Suburbs are in this and they actually dropped points in the group stage. So they still top their group, but they're looking a bit weak, okay? So let's just make sure we get over there to Tahiti, get the job done, pick up 3 wins from 3, and see when that big clash is going to be against those boys from Porirua. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 163 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both the All Whites and with Cashmere Technical. I hope you're doing well, and come up today we start off 2040 in the save with the group stages of the OFC Champions League. We'll take on Nadroga in our Group D opener, run through some transfers before then, and also see when we'll take on Western Suburbs in the knockouts of this year's competition. So if you're looking forward to that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But yesterday we ended the season with the National League final in New Zealand, where we did take on the Phoenix Reserves. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Did pick up a win, albeit it was a pretty narrow one, only by a scoreline of 2-1. Since then, have had an extended preseason, seeing as this time around we're in Group D of the Champions League, so it does mean Western Suburbs already made their way through the group of this year's competition. We'll see how they got on off the back of running through the transfers that we've done. As you saw at the end of yesterday's episode, only at about £40,000 in our transfer budget, about 2k a week spare that we could use, and to be fair, all that money did slide over into the wage budget. And the main thing that we did with that money, as you can see there, Kostas Karapidis might be on his way out the club, seeing as he wants too big a wage here at Cashmere Tech. We've used quite a bit of wage though. We're 3.3k over at the moment. That could change with him leaving the club, and also we might be able to get rid of some players on quite high wages later this year once they do qualify for the All Whites, in particular looking at David Cifuentes on nearly £4,000 a week. But here are the transfers we have done going into the start of 2040. Only a couple of players did leave the club. Jack Smith, Carlos Muniz, and Nick Marshall, all players who are down in our B team. Not too much to worry about there, but the first team player that did leave the club was Mazinho, the backup to Walid Khalid. Unfortunately, on a non-contract, did want a bit too much money than we were able to pay him here at Cashmere Tech, so we've let him go over to Paysandu back in his home nation of Brazil. I believe that is, and indeed that is the case over there in Serie B. But Mazinho did a decent job for us there over a couple of seasons, but as I said, was the backup to Walid Khalid, and his attributes are only okay, had a bit of potential, but don't think he would have been a future All Whites option in the saves. He's gone back to Brazil there as Mazinho, and we've added in a lot of players, and for the most part under 20 options, so we've got a few more for this upcoming season in the National League. It won't affect us in the Champions League. We can just do what we want with our squad selection in that tournament, but it does get a bit trickier in the National League, so I thought having more good under 20 options was a decent idea. It started off in December when a player who's been on trial at the club for quite a while came through the doors. To be fair, this guy will be down now under 20s, but Gustavo Nava is a goalkeeper formerly of New York City. Thought he had a bit more potential than that when we first got him into the club. To be fair, these days we have quite a few high potential goalkeepers down there in our under 20 squad, but we've picked him up on a free. Not too sure though if you got too much game time in the first team, but above that, a few more players that might make an impact. Christian Gomez, honestly, we just signed this guy from Selwyn to try and keep him around the country. Otherwise, he would have departed back to Mexico. He's going to be a B team / under 20 player. Above that, though, things start to get quite a bit more interesting. First up, a signing on loan from Tottenham in Geordie McDonald, an Australian striker. I actually tried to get this deal done about halfway through last year. Unfortunately, it didn't kick in until the start of this season, and he's not actually as good as our local strikers, but he is 18 years old, so if we need to use someone up front who is under 20, this isn't a bad option, albeit he will be leaving the club halfway through the year when his contract with Spurs does run out. So we'll see how he goes if he gets much game time in the first team here this season. If he does a decent job, he could be someone we try and pick up on a free, but he did come through the youth intake there at Tottenham a couple of years ago. He's actually played a little bit in the Premier League, albeit not done a very good job considering he's a striker, 22 appearances and no goals for a 6.47 average rating. But the Southern League should be a bit easier than the Premier League. So hopefully Geordie McDonald can do a job for us if we need to use him over players like Prince Kamalo and Craig Johnston. The rest of the players we have signed on frees, but some of them are on some decent wages. And these next two are the big ones. First up, Ahmed Al-Jazari. He's actually the replacement for Mazinho and looks a little bit better attribute-wise than Walid Khalid, a Saudi Arabian international with only 2 caps. 19 years old, so he would be one of our starters under 20. That could be quite handy, an actual first choice under 20 player. 3.5 star current ability, 4.5 star potential. He has been a couple of years over there at Al Hilal and done a pretty good job for them as well. So definitely should be able to handle things down here in the OFC Champions League and the National League as well. So he does look like a good pickup there, a new first choice right winger, albeit it does mean one of our best players here so far at Cashmere Technical, Walid Khalid, might drop down to the bench, but that's not too bad considering he can cover all positions up front and is these days a local player that might be quite useful to have on the bench. So I think Ahmed Al-Jazari comes in to be a new first choice right winger and also coming in to replace a player down that same side, but this time at right back in Harrison Debenham is Jorge Rivera, an Ecuadorian international who has pretty good current ability at 4 stars and 5-star potential, is actually regular for Ecuador. As you can see, 6 caps and 1 goal. That 4K a week is a bit steep. He's the highest paid player here at Cashmere Tech, but attribute-wise, best right back by a long way, even a lot better than someone like Harrison Debenham, who can also drop down to the bench and a good option as he can cover both sides. We are getting rid of both our starters down our right-hand side from last season. The beefier 2 of the better players we've had of late here at Cashmere Tech for these 2 new signings, but these guys do look very good and for this season are under 20 options. Pretty happy to bring these guys to the club. This guy also was wanted by the likes of Man City when I put a bid in for him. Thankfully, that never materialised and we were able to get him. So that's a really good bit of business there for us. The man formerly of Liga de Quito, good right back to go alongside a quite promising Saudi Arabian right winger. And the last player we brought in, Christian Randazzo, he will be down at under 20s. Another American goalkeeper, that one a bit more potential than Nava. So a lot of under 20 players we've brought in for this upcoming season, but 2 of them definite first team starters in Rivera and Al-Jazari, and a bit of a squad player in Geordie McDonald just in case we need someone who is under 20 and also a local. So what that means for our squad going into this season's Champions League, here's what it looked like when we were at full strength. As you can see, David Cifuentes can actually get back in the first team now with those other under 20 options that we do have, albeit not too sure if that will actually work for the National League, because of course only allowed 5 foreigners. But by the time we get to the National League, David Cifuentes should be partially a New Zealander. He is only 137 days away from that being the case. So he, all of a sudden, becomes a very useful player both for us here at Cashmere Tech as well as for the All Whites. Fingers crossed, because goalkeeper is a little bit of a weak area, and those attributes definitely do mean he'd get in. And also 3.9k a week. We could even sell him on, get that wage budget under control. But David Cifuentes comes back into the team. Obviously, Rivera and Al-Jazari, as I said before, they come in down that right-hand side. Hosafa also gets back in as the ball-playing defender alongside Tim Anderson. Sousa at left-back, Corona and Clark in the midfield. Jamie Young, central attacking midfielder. Jonas Otto, our captain these days, at left wing. And Prince Kamalo keeps his spot up front. In our bench for this season, we've got Debenham and Khalid dropping down from that first team from last year. As I said, really good options alongside Craig Johnston and also Tristan Turner and the young centre-back we did sign from Miramar Rangers in Peter Zajic, and a few extras we can put on the bench there for the Champions League. Some quite good players, and Shaun Hall, a promising goalkeeper we did use quite a bit last season. We need to fill that under 20 spot for the National League. Finn Brown to cover central attacking midfielder in behind Jamie Young. Azorio to cover out left Vinicius in behind Corona in defensive midfield. Andy Roberts is there because unfortunately PA is injured for this first game, but usually he'd be there as the left back option. Sergio Arce as an extra centre back alongside Zajic, and Geordie McDonald just to keep Tottenham happy because he is here as a squad player and a few more players there on the bench. But to be fair, those ones are just a little bit extra for the Champions League. Hopefully won't need to use them too much. So a little bit of change going to this new season here at Cashmere Technical. I know those two new players we did sign have got international caps with other nations, but I am looking forward to that Club World Cup next year. Really want to have a good crack at that, seeing it's going to be our last one here with Cashmere Tech. So hopefully we can bring in a bit more international experience before we get to that tournament and do a decent job and maybe try and even win the thing. That might be asking a bit too much, but hopefully go even deeper than we did the last time around. But first up for us this season is the Champions League. To be fair, this should be pretty easy work for us as per usual. Just show you guys a game and then see when we'll take on the fellow New Zealand team in Western Suburbs in the knockouts of this competition. There's our Group D, alongside AS Dragon from Tahiti, Halafa Oleva from Tonga, I think I got that name right, and also Nadroga from Fiji. They're the team we're going to be taking on first up in this tournament. A quick look at them. They're a one-star reputation club. They have got the wood over Suva in their last couple of games, but it should be okay. Hopefully, and get the job done over a team only expected to finish fourth over there in the Fijian League. But this is definitely a group we should be topping. Group C, that has been contested between Simbu from PNG, AS Magenta from New Caledonia, Tawhia from Vanuatu, and the Central Coast from the Solomon Islands, not the Mariners, in the wrong region. They're over in Asia, of course, and at the moment, Simbu on top of that one after the first match day off the back of a 2-0 win over Central Coast. Tawhia and AS Magenta, they drew 4-4 in a goal fest. To be fair, those two teams could still run over the top of Simbu and claim those qualifying spots. Going up to Group A, and these are the groups that have already been completed. Tapuji Amiri top that group over AS Central Sport. Tigger Sport and the Blue Kummels have already been knocked out, which means that Group B was the group that Western Suburbs were in. They did top it, but not as comfortably as you'd expect, of course. These guys actually snuck into the Champions League this season by finishing third, because we took on the Phoenix Reserves in that final yesterday, and they can't play in the Champions League. They did get pegged back late by Waniagu on the opening match day 2-2, but then very comfy wins off the back of that 6-1 over to Papamaralinga, and the same scoreline over Suva. Waniagu backed up that draw of wins as well, but not by as big a margins. That's the reason that they finished below Western Suburbs, because of goal differential, and those other two teams have been knocked out. So Western Suburbs did drop points, but still finished top of their group. So it does mean for the earliest we should be able to make them in the knockouts of the Champions League if we top our group is the semi-finals. And to be fair, I do prefer that, taking on a fellow New Zealand team over two legs instead of in a one-off game. But hopefully we can get off here to a decent start in the Champions League this season. Also, we are over in Tahiti for these games, and we could have done a bus trip, apart from the fact that there's no Google Maps over in Tahiti, so it wouldn't have been a very good one. So unfortunately, no bus trip today to the Stade de la Fatawa over there in Tahiti. We would have stayed at a Hilton hotel. That's about as much as I can tell you about that bus trip, until I realised that Google Maps doesn't work too well with the street view, so we might as well save some time and get stuck in to the first game of this new season. Hopefully get off to a good start by picking up a win over Nadroga. And here are the team sheets for this first game of the Champions League this season. In terms of us, it's our best 11, with Rivieren and Aldazari starting down that right-hand side. Here come Nadroga from Fiji. They are going with a very defensive formation. 5 at the back, a defensive midfielder, 2 a little bit further forward, and then 2 strikers. So it does look like they're parking the bus here against us a little bit. To be fair, that might not be a bad idea, but surely we get off here to a winning start, don't do Western Suburbs, and can pick up maximum points from our group. And it might not take long either for the first goal in this game. A corner only 40 seconds in, and Anderson gets on the end of that one in the centre of the box. It goes over the bar, and it must have actually taken a deflection, because it's got another corner right off the back of that, this time going far post, but unfortunately can't connect there with a teammate. So an interesting chance there early. That Anderson shot must have taken a bit of a deflection, but early stages are then truly on the front foot. And coming up now to the 10-minute mark, we've got a throw in here inside the final third. Clark found young Aldazari looking for a debut goal. Unfortunately, just pulls that one a little bit wide. It's just past the 10-minute mark. Still 0-0 in this one. I can't wrap things up yet. Another throw in for us here inside the final third, quite similar spot to before. And this time, Rivera gets on the end of that one and puts it away. I think the Nadroga in goal got a decent touch on that one, but Rivera grabs an opening goal on debut for us here in the Champions League this season. Of course, the National League final last year, I'm pretty sure Debenham got both goals in that game. So at the moment, it's our right back scoring on the goals here at Cashmere Tech, but some good early pressure. We're rewarded just shy of the 20-minute mark. We make it 1-0. I can't catch my breath yet because the highlights, they do continue. Rivera, off the back of that goal, storms his way forward. The ball there fell to Camalo. Then it somehow goes to Otto, who kind of blows a chance there. To be fair, though, needed some quick reactions. Didn't quite catch that in time. So unfortunately, kind of blew that chance. And off the back of that, Nadroga with a free kick. But thankfully, we had that one clear, and El Dazari tries to get us going forward there down the left-hand side. And now Otto, so El Dazari can go back out towards his normal side, plays that forward to Camalo, gets it back. What will he try here on debut? Takes on the shot there from a tight angle, but to be fair, bit of a weak one halfway through the first half, 1-0 in front. And the highlights continue here in this first game of the new season. It's a goal kick there for Nadroga, but we win that one back pretty easily. Try and get on the attack there, but I think Camalo, bit of a loose touch, so a chance there for the opposition to boot that one clear. Hosafa will tidy things up at the back. Now Sousa plays a nice ball over the top there for Jonas. Otto looking there for El Dazari at the far post, but Rivera will square that one. Good clearance there, though, from a Nadroga defender. I think the goalkeeper there might have been in trouble, but now we get it out to Rivera, who will take on the shot from a tight angle, and he'll pick up a second, get himself on a hat-trick here on debut for Cashmere. Taking our right backs at the moment, as I said, scoring all the goals, which is a little bit weird. To be fair, they are wing backs on attack in our system, but Rivera, looking like a pretty good attacking threat for us here at Cashmere Tech, is the Ecuadorian international. He grabs a double and makes it 2-0 at the half-hour mark. And thankfully, I finally had a chance here to catch my breath, but not for too long, as we make our way into the last 10 minutes here of this first half, and a free kick now in our favour off the back of grabbing a cushion goal. Nice ball forward there for Jonas Otto, our captain these days, off the back of the departure of Lorenzo Janssen on a free. Also worth noting, it didn't come up before on the transfers as that free kick goes over there. I think that was Rivera. He might not be that good at free kicks, but Isaac Hughes, he retired as well. So a couple of long-standing members here of the squad at Cashmere Tech are no longer here, but we have upgraded in those positions. Some good youngsters coming through in that first half. Very dominant. We probably should actually scored some more goals, but hopefully can make up for that in the second half. Playing well, hopefully can finish off our chances a little bit better in the second 45 minutes, but currently looking good for an opening match day win as we hold a 2-0 lead. And it hasn't taken long here for the first highlight of the second half. A round for us here again inside the final third. Otto will find Young, who tries to blaze that one top right corner. Bit Ladua, but unfortunately on the wrong side of the post. Currently getting a lot of shots off in this game. 27 overall, 12 on target, high XG, but only scored 2 goals. So our finishing has actually been a little bit disappointing. And with that in mind, we might make some subs here, going to the last half hour of this game, take off some players not on too good a rating. So we'll bring on Khaled or El Dazari going a bit barely on debut. Also, Jamie Young can come off for Finn Brown. Tim Anderson going fairly on a 6.6. Let's give some game time to Sergio Arce. And also Prince Camalo only going fairly. Let's give some game time for the Tottenham loanee and Geordie McDonald. Let's see how those 4 guys get on. Hopefully might help us improve our finishing, in particular while they're Khaled, as we're still only 2-0 in front. And right off the back of those changes, there is a highlight here. It starts off with a goal kick to Nadroga, and to be fair, quite a good one as well. They take that one a little bit shorter than usual and do keep the ball. And they play a ball over the top there for Ravovo, who puts it away past Cifuentes. And just like that, getting a little bit punished here for our sloppy finishing compared to AXG. They're right back in this game and make it 2-1. A ball over the top there from Cheng, I think that is, or Shaun, couldn't quite tell there. Ravovo was in behind. Rivera's quite far up. To be fair, expect that from our wingback on attack. But a bit of an iffy performance from us here. Hopefully don't do a Western Suburbs and drop points in this game. It's looking a bit likely though, as it's now 2-1, a corner off the back of that in our favour. Unfortunately, can't quite link up with anyone. But now Clark finds Brown there. Really good chance, but unfortunately got under it a bit too much. It comes off the underside of the crossbar. Doesn't quite make its way over the line. Big chance for us there. Get a 2-goal lead back. Unfortunately, can't quite do so. And off the back of that, a free kick. Rivera gets his head on the end of that one, looking for a hat-trick, but unfortunately, yet again, can't quite hit the target, and it's still 2-1 Cashmere, and that will be the case as well going into this next highlight just inside of the last 20 minutes. Otto starts to cut inside, takes on the shot, good save there from the doer, and it is still 2-1. Our XG now must be close to the 5 mark in this game, but only the 2 goals. We try and put that one into the mix of Finn Brown, lets off a header, but that one can't quite hit the target. Indeed, our XG just over the 4.5 mark, but still only 2 goals. As we're about to make our way to the last 15 minutes of this game, we'll make our final sub. Tosafa can come off on a 6.5 for the youngster, and Peter Zajic will put Arce into the ball-playing defender role for the late stages of this game. But currently, there is still a chance here that Nadroga could actually FM us and take some points off us, just like what happened to Western Suburbs against Waniagu. Now a free kick which Finn Brown will take. Had that big chance before. He was close to putting it away, couldn't quite, but this time we take the short free kick. It's oh so cheesy, but it works here. And FM24, and just when we need it, we grab a goal to really put the nail in the coffin here of Nadroga. But to be fair, we should have done that a long time ago, but Sam Clark, given a ton of space to be fair, the doer there, probably should have saved that one, kind of parries it into the back of his own net. But finally, we grab a 2-goal lead again, and that should be enough late on in this game. Indeed, that will be the case, but stats-wise, that's a game we should have been winning very easily. Just a bit disappointing there, our finishing in that one at XG a lot higher than what we put out. But to be fair, overall performance, not too bad. A good debut there from Jorge Rivera, who picked up a first half double. They grabbed one back there for Rivovo in the second half to make things very interesting, but thankfully, late goal there from a bit of a cheesy short free kick to Sam Clark, and we open up our Champions League campaign with a 3-1 win. We should now improve off the back of that, I say hopefully, so we'll skip forward if all goes well, do a recap of how this group finished, and then see who we've got in the quarters and the semis. So a little bit closer than you'd expect there considering the stats from that game against Nadroga, but thankfully just enough there to pick up a 3-1 win. And off the back of that, we did play the 2 other games in our group, and we were a lot more convincing. First up, we took on Halafua. I believe those guys were from Tonga. Did a full rotation for this game, and maybe these guys should be our first team. They pick up a 9-0 win. Craig Johnston gets 4 goals. Very good goal scorer, as you saw in the Chatham Cup final last season. Arce got a double, this time from centre-back instead of right-back in that same game, that Chatham Cup final, where he also got the double while Khaled Azorio and Al Dazari, they popped up with goals as well. Al Dazari, it was his first one for the club, so a much more convincing win there in our second game in our Champions League group, and thankfully backed it up with a very similar performance with the first choice players, again the same players that did start that game before against Nadroga. Same result, 6-0 up at half time. That was thanks to an Al Dazari hat-trick. Otto got 2, Kamalo got 2, and also chipping in goals there to Jamie Young and to Hosafa. So a lot more clinical in front of goal in the 2 games we've played since the opener against Nadroga. And it does mean we go through with a pretty healthy goal differential of 21. Just that 1 goal we conceded, which was to Nadroga, but unfortunately they finished third in the group. That's because AS Dragon go through with 4 points, a win over Nadroga 2-1, and a draw against Halafua. Does mean they just do enough to sneak through over Nadroga, who just picked up a win over Halafua, and those guys lost all 3 of their games. That's what's happened in our group. Going back up to Group C, AS Magenta did come back and win this group as we suspected, and Tafia, they finished second, albeit do it by a tight margin, only finishing 1 point above both Simbu and the Central Coast. That group was actually quite tight, but the 2 teams that you probably expect to get through do so in AS Magenta and Tafia. And unfortunately, because we're in Group D, we didn't get the chance to see the draw for the quarters of the semis. We just got the items popping up straight in our inbox. So no drama here today. We'll be able to show you guys who we've got in the knockouts of the Champions League. We'll just make our way up there from that big result that we did just pick up, as you can see right off the back of that game that we did just play. We've got Waniagu in the quarterfinals. Now, to be fair, that's off the back of an international break that we'll come back for in tomorrow's episode with the All Whites. But that is the team that held Western Suburbs to a draw. So that could actually be a bit tougher than it looks on paper. We might come back for that one if it's interesting. From the Solomon Islands, to finish off this week. I'll record it just in case, otherwise we'll skip forward and show you guys the semi-finals instead, because that is going to be the big tie in the Champions League this season if both teams make it that far, because we'll take on Western Suburbs or AS Central Sports. So it does mean the final could be a bit of an average affair if we make it that far. It does look like the semi could be the big tie in the Champions League this season. That could be where an all-New Zealand clash does take place. But I think that will do it for today's episode. Made our way through the group stage, the Champions League, albeit off the back of a scratchy first up win, the only 3-1 over Nadroga. If you enjoyed that one as well as the transfers that we have made, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. As I said, tomorrow we're going to come back and do a window with the All Whites. The main reason for that is the rest of this year is pretty much OFC Nations Cups. Last time for a little while we actually get the chance here to take on some half-decent teams with our All White squad, and we're going to be taking on 2 teams from Africa for the first time in a little while. The rematch from, I think, 2 World Cups ago, where we beat these guys in the group stage in the Ivory Coast, and a few days later we'll take on Tunisia. Both those teams we have been before in this save, and they are just below us on the world rankings. In fact, the Ivory Coast actually did level with us these days as they're 14th and we are 16th. We've actually slipped down the rankings a little bit since I last checked, so that's actually false. The Ivory Coast a little bit above us now in the save, but Tunisia, they're a little bit below us, down an equal 23rd. So hopefully we can pick up wins as we usually do against African opposition and make our way back inside that top 15 before the Oceania Nations League does kick off, because that could impact our ranking in a bit of a negative way considering the rankings of the other teams from Oceania. But until tomorrow for an African adventure with the All Whites, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.